And is it cold there?
Cold here? No,
Yeah.
maybe, at night, like 5 a.m. or something in the morning, 50 degrees, but not.
Yeah, we've had, and hey everybody, we are live, and we've got Bernie Cobb from Chicago. We've got Nathan from Colorado Springs, right?
Yes.
I said it, and I was like, wait, I was doubting myself. Sorry about that, Nathan. We were just talking about the weather. So the weather here, typically this time of year, I have a beautiful like native tan. However, it has been really cold lately. Well, really cold. Let's be clear. It was 74, but usually this time of year, it's in the high 80s and it's beach weather, and it just has not, we haven't had it. And so it is actually pretty today. But I was a
Perfect.
little bit sad that I don't have a tan yet. But I'm so glad that you guys are with me today and just here to talk about real estate and what you're seeing in your market and what you're experiencing as everything shifts yet again.
Yeah.
So Bernie, what are you seeing? Are you seeing any differences, like you personally in your business?
Personally, in my business, yes. I mean, my inventory is down in terms of personal listings. Um, and I think that's kind of around the horn for everybody, not just in
Agreed.
this, chat group, but or just who's listening, but around the country.
Yeah.
And I have had many conversations with different people, and it's, you just have to weather the storm. It'll get. I mean, 2 years ago, if I said, "Guess what's going to happen right now," you would have never said, "Hey, rates will be up and prices will be up." You'd say the opposite, or the stock market. So
Right.
it'll get back to normal at some point.
No, I would agree. And it's funny because whenever somebody says, well, what do you predict is going to happen? I'm like, oh, I never would have predict COVID. I never
Right.
would have predict COVID would have made
Right.
it
People are going to be out of work. How are they going to afford a house? To everybody's house went
Or
up.
2.5% interest rates. I mean,
Yeah. No
none of
wonder.
that.
absolutely. Absolutely. So Nathan, what are you seeing in your market?
In ours, our numbers are down compared to what they normally are, I guess, as far as active listings and such. But like April, we had 1,519, so 1,519 active listings this April. And the previous April, 2022, there were 969.
Wow. So your inventory is starting to come up a little bit then.
It is. It's been January, we're at 1,600, February, 1,100, March, 1,400, and April, 1,500. So we're holding. And in July of last year, we're at 2,500. In August, September, we're at 2,600. So we're lower than we were last summer, but we're trending upwards because people are starting to say, all right, we do need to sell.
Yeah, that's right.
So
That's a good point, Nathan. It'll, just like everything, they go from great shock to acceptance to normality. And
Yeah,
you can't just fast forward that process.
that's
It
right.
takes some seasoning, and then okay, now I've accepted that my rate is 7%, and
yeah,
because it's been there for a while, and market gets back to normal.
Right. And I agree with you. And I tell buyers, I'm like, a higher interest rate, there's always going to be that chance the interest rate could go back down and you can always refinance at that time. But the way the market was a year ago, a year and a half ago, when it was the first time, I mean, I've been in real estate 17 years. It was the first time in my history that somebody would call me and say, what do you think I should put in an offer at? And I was like, who knows? Like, how high do you want to go? And how, it was insane. So people were just these massive bidding wars and going, hundreds of thousands of dollars above list price. And we're not seeing that anymore. We're still getting multiple offers, but
same
you're
here.
not seeing that crazy, unstatistical, just throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. Now
Right.
we're getting back to where you actually need real estate agents to do that legwork and to pull up those statistics and to help you. But right. But it is hard. It is hard for people to fathom, that 3 years ago the interest rates were 3%. However, both of y'all been doing this long enough. I mean, our nation's average is 6%. If you look at the 50-year average.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, that's a good
you
point.
know,
We're right in the middle of where the normality is. I think my
that's
wife
right.
and I, when we first bought our house, 1992, was 10%.
Yeah.
We thought we were killing it when it went down to 5. So, and it was And I mean, it kept dropping and dropping, 8, 7, 6. Like, holy cow, this is great.
My first house I bought was in 1994, and I was at 6%. And my dad he probably had like 20 rental houses throughout Wilmington. And he was like, wait, what was he was like, he ran to the bank to refinance everything because he was at 10 and 11% and had no idea it had dropped so low to be at 6. So
I hope you put him in touch with your loan officer and at the time and got some referrals from that.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So what is your like funniest real estate story, either your funniest or scariest that's happened to you recently?
So I've had a funny one. It wasn't really recent, but I was showing a husband and wife, and they had, I think, I'm going to guess, like a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old boys with them. And we were looking at the little lower end price ranges. So they weren't like fancy,
right,
high-end homes. And we went into a home, and first we saw, because we set our showing so no one should be there. We went in and I see these pictures on the wall of young 20-something girls in lingerie and stuff. I'm like, all right, I'll shade their eyes. So it was a split level. So we went upstairs, and 2 girls are in their lingerie, and there's 2 boys sitting there watching them, and they're dancing on a pole.
Like in the house, not in video. We're talking about in the house while you're showing the house.
Physically in the house. And we're like, we have a showing set. They're like, oh, okay, we'll be done in a second. Because they were there practicing. So the dad was like, boys, go in the car. They're like, but dad. They're like, no, wait in the car. So, and that was the most interesting one.
So wait, so there's a dad involved. So there's 20-something-year-old girls dancing in lingerie with a pole, boys watching it, and then a dad is there too.
The mom and dad I was showing the home to.
Oh.
Yeah. And so like the dad of the 11
that.
and 7-year-olds, they made the boys go wait in the car while the girls were dancing.
Of course they did. They were like, oh my God, the boys were probably like, what is this?
They experienced something new that day.
Yes, they did. That was an interesting conversation when they got home, I'm sure. What about you? I always think it's funny, just that, I mean, I love this job, and it's the one job that people are inviting you into their families, into their homes, into their life, into the biggest investment they ever spend in their lifetime. But along the way, you do see some crazy things. So I think it's kind of funny. What about you, Bonnie? What do you have, Bernie?
Gosh, a couple. One, I'll tell a couple quick ones. One on Nathan's vein. I'm newer in the business. I'm showing this gal homes. I can't remember if she's single or married. We go into the master bedroom, and I'm like, and this is the closet, and I open the closet, and this is maybe 1994, 95, so there's no internet or anything, but it was like a husband and wife master bedroom. In the closet is like all the video recorders on tripods, like all like ready to record them. My face must have turned, I mean, like a lobster. And it wasn't my house. I was just so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God. Another time I go to, this is when we have the key boxes with the combination on the door. Yeah. And I've
been doing this for a while, Bernie, haven't you?
Yeah. I've been right out of college, 33 years.
Wow.
My parents were both in the business before me. So I kind of lived it growing up. Just, people would call out the house all the time, and we'd take detailed messages and have them all lined up for me. Anyway.
So yes, you were doing admin work for your parents, like unpaid.
Yeah, that's an understatement. So I go to preview this house, before, again, the internet, and I'm like maybe a month in the business. I've got my new haircut, my suit, tie. I go in the house, have an appointment to preview the house, ring the doorbell, no answer, open the key box, walk in, start previewing the house. I get to the master bedroom. There's a woman face down on the bed, with her legs like on the ground. And I yell, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She didn't move a muscle. And I'm like 22, again, with my new hair. I ran out of the house so fast. I thought she was dead. I shut the door, and then I like kind of like a police drama. I'm like covering, like, what if my fingerprints are there? And I'm reading the paper every day. Like, what if this woman's dead? Are they gonna like question me? Like, did I do something? Like, ridiculous. Anyway, I probably could think of 100 more, but
Was she dead? What was the outcome?
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. This is, I never saw a story in the paper. I never saw. I'm guessing she was just out cold from sleeping, but holy moly, I was terrified.
That is funny, but
Yeah.
you never got arrested, so hopefully she wasn't dead.
On that, I never got arrested. I didn't have a fake ID back in 1986. I got arrested. That's a different story. Poplar Creek, Nathan.
So I grew up Chicago area,
Right.
which I know Bernie knows. I grew up south suburb of the city, and my dad was a contractor, and he worked basically Chicago South. So one time he went in and was doing a work and was getting paid by someone. And I kid you not, they came in with about $10,000 of cash in a suitcase to pay my dad. And he was like, I can't take cash. He's like, well, this is what we got. I'm like, I really can't do that. Go deposit and give me a check. And my.
One of those. I have another, okay, now that you say that, I have another kind of on the same vein. I'm at a closing and the kid goes to buy the house cash. And there's like a condo, maybe it was like $75,000. The attorney looks like he's like John Gotti's cousin. I mean, he fits the gold bracelets and the tie. I mean, everything. He just looks like he's. And my mom's all Italian, so I'm telling you, my own nationality. And the kid opens this like pencil case that's like from a bank, and takes out stacks of cash. And the attorney's like, "You can't do this." So we had to delay the closing, but he was like, and the kid was in the concrete business. It fit the whole.
I'll tell you, I had one.
Like
this more mob stuff.
Oh, mob, buddy.
Well, I had one, and I was y'all just remind me, I was brand new in real estate, and you're supposed to make copies of all the checks and everything, and they already said you can't take cash, but if you do, what I heard was I needed to make a copy of it so that I could verify you're handing me cash, what I do,
copies of the cash.
Yeah. So then I make copies of the cash, and then the attorney was like, "Hey, you can't make a copy of money."
Great, that's forgery.
Yeah. What are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm trying to show where.
That's
After that, I'm like, no cash, please, God.
That's funny.
It is. We had an issue. Are y'all Venmoing? Anybody Venmoing earnest money and stuff now?
We have a system called Payload through the office, and people have to pay the $7 fee, but they can't. Well, if it's Venmo, you can't obviously go to you, or it has to go right to brokers.
Right. So we have a due diligence fee, which is a non-refundable fee. They pay directly to the seller, which is different than any other state.
Sure.
But they've started to Venmo it. And the other day I had a closing that got delayed because there was a $5 Venmo charge that I'm not sure why there was only $5, but we had to go through the act of Congress to find out why the buyer, anyway, the seller ended up having to Venmo the $4.95 fee back to the buyer. I was over $5 in Venmo.
This is all part of the settlement statement. Otherwise, it's close. Wow.
Yeah.
I've never
so,
heard
I'm sure you have earnest money.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we have earnest money as well, which is refundable, but due diligence is non-refundable. So North Carolina is
usually.
What's your if you have a purchase price of $500,000, what would due diligence amount?
See, and that's a great question, and that's the question everybody has. And the long and short of it, there is no normal standard, but I would say $500,000 house. If no offers are on it, right? It's been on the market 30 days and there's no offers on it. I would advise my seller or my buyer to do about $2,000 in due diligence and about $2,000 in earnest. However, if it's multiple offers, I just closed one the other day and it was 12 offers on the table and my buyers had to have it. And we did $50,000 due diligence.
Does that apply towards their down payment?
It does, yes. It goes towards the price of the home as long as they buy the home. But if they terminate for any reason,
you walk away from the deal. That's the seller's money.
That's exactly right. And even if it doesn't appraise, even if a home inspection identifies something crazy wrong with it, that money is gone.
And is it required on every transaction? Or
no, it's not. It's not required. No, it's not required. It's been on our contracts for about 10 years now. And only in the past 5 or 6 years have people been using it. But really in the past 3 years, it's the driving force that makes your offer different than everybody
Yeah.
else.
Huh.
Yeah. And it can be, it's a little unsettling to a lot of people moving from out of state because they've never heard of it and don't fully understand. But as long as you buy the house, it does go towards your down payment. Or
It makes you more committed to the home.
it gets your 100%. Yes.
In my market, and I'm sure the same with yours, Bernie, is they put in, it's usually 1 to 2% earnest money, typically 1%. But
That's what it is here.
people are like, well, I just saw a home I like better. Then it doesn't happen a lot, but they'll terminate and try and get the other home.
As long as it's within the 5 business days, but if it's, or I guess you could wiggle out after that through the attorney mod verbiage somehow. I don't know, well, we have attorneys that take care of everything. I know other parts use title companies.
Yeah, we don't have that here.
We use attorneys, but not like in New York where attorneys draft the contracts. Real estate agents, we fill in the blanks for the contracts. An attorney does the closing.
So who like negotiates, like who drafts the letters to the other side? Like here's the items on the home inspection we want.
Yeah.
Wow. Who drafts the letters saying?
We do everything. Attorneys don't. I don't see an attorney until closing day.
We don't have attorneys at all.
Who prepares the deed?
The attorney.
Title.
Our
title
attorney
company
does.
And the title company obviously orders title. What about who orders the survey?
We ordered surveys.
We don't really ever have surveys because, we don't really have surveys unless it's a rural large property.
Wow. No
Yeah,
survey.
so we have like a professional disclosure statement, and I go through every single thing with our clients. Do you want a home inspection, a pest inspection, a survey? We kind of go through what they want to order, who they want to use. Do they want to use our preferred people, or do they have somebody? But we do it all. And then when it comes time for the negotiations for the repairs, we do that. There's forms. We fill out forms. We don't draft addendums, right? Because we're not attorneys. But there's forms that we fill out to present to the agent on the other side. The only time I see an attorney, and the attorney does the closing disclosure and does all the deed prep, but I don't see the close. I don't see the attorney until
who ordered the title company? Are you an agent for the title company?
No, me, no. So with us, our attorney hires the title company to do the title, to search the title.
And does the attorney get a fee like as an agent for the title company?
There is like, I don't think that they get the title company gets paid. I think it's like $495, and then the attorney gets paid about $1,000.
Okay.
I'm not sure how. I don't think so. I don't know, Bernie. I've never had anybody else do that.
The attorneys do all that stuff that you described. They communicate back and forth to each side on, hey, my client wants this fixed, my client wants that fixed. The attorney orders the deed. The attorney orders title. They pick a title company, and then the title company gives the lawyer a fee as an agent for the title company.
That's how it's that they do that here too. I guess the title company charges the attorney. It's on the closing disclosure.
Sure. Oh, sure. They disclose it.
Right.
But my point was that, I don't know, as long as it's not a RESPA violation, if you could be an agent for the title company, you should be able to collect that.
Yeah, I don't know because we like the attorneys,
Understood. Right. You don't want to do any RESPA violation, but if it were not a RESPA violation,
right,
it would be so if you're doing 50 transactions a year, and that could be, extra.
Yeah, well, here it's part of what the attorney does, and it doesn't really seem like the attorney does much. Now that you're saying all this,
they don't do anything. All they do is examine it afterwards.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway. So your attorney does everything. I know New York's like that too.
I'm sure every attorney watching this is like, oh, okay.
They don't appreciate my hard work.
Right.
Well, so tell me about what is your average price point, Bernie, and have you seen that change lately?
Sure. My average price point is, I just looked at that, is $654. Minimum was $275. The price point has gone up, and I don't know if I have a number showing me how much from last year to this year, but I would say it's up between, I think about this, it's probably up a good 10% from last year.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good. And it's continuing to go.
I don't know what happened. And even, between November, October of last year and this year, I think it just, the inventory just diminished and prices just kept going up.
That's
So
what happened to us too. I would
Ours
agree.
is the exact opposite. I mean, or not the exact opposite, but very different. Because our average price point is about 500,000. Like, and in 2022 in February, it was 514,000.
So it's gone down a little bit, but not much.
that's probably a good sign, though. I'm sorry. That's probably a good sign if it's somewhat, because Denver's a hot spot. So if it's somewhat adjusting, this is our leveling process where, some things run up, and then if it I'm doing it the wrong way in the camera, but if it levels off for a while, it would be this way. Yeah. If it levels off for a while, then it can run again. But I'm actually going to do it this way. Wait.
Yeah, and don't you think that's usually the cycle? Is usually you'll get it sort of stabilizes, and Nathan, it sounds like it's sort of stabilizing.
That's
I mean,
right.
that's not much difference, right?
Yeah, it had to fix itself because the bad part is Colorado Springs is always in the top 5 places to live in the country, at least top 10. So we don't get as many lows as everybody does, but we've been seeing that high because people are moving out of the West Coast and either going to Colorado or Texas.
Yeah.
Or all the way to like Nashville or Florida.
Yeah.
Tennessee or Florida,
or North Carolina. I think we're like the number 2 place people move.
Out of Chicago, people are going to the Carolinas or Florida.
Yeah.
Like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, agreed. And now, so this is the first time I've seen. So our median price point is $425 here. And in May of last year, if I just do year over year, it was $410 and it's $425, and it's kind of fluctuated a little bit through the past couple of months. But we are going up, so it's like 3.5% to 4%, which is good. That's historically the way it normally does, right? Yeah. Which I'm excited about. And our inventory, we have only 1.2 months worth of inventory, so our inventory is still real low.
We're at 1.2
on the absorption rate, which I have on my. It's 1 point. We're almost it was 2022 is 1.4, 1.3. It went up as high as 2.2 in September. This is why I'm saying like it went up so much. The prices went up so much. Last year, June, it was at 2.0. Today, it's at 1.5.
Oh, wow. So, and then what is yours, Nathan? What'd you say?
So in March of 22, it was 0.46 months of inventory.
Wow.
Like under a half, but now it's at 1.2. Yeah. So that's about where it should be. Like 1.5 months is.
Well, it's still a seller's market, right? I mean, that shows, that's still good because don't they say like between 4 and 6 months of inventory is where you start getting more of a balanced market? So it sounds like, but everybody's market still it's always interesting when you hear the media and the media cast one light and then you talk to the professionals that are actually in the business and they're not really seeing the same thing that the media is saying.
That's a good point. I've always said this too. I remember this vividly. It was March of 2007. And I remember like one of my listings was not selling. And I'm like, something that's so odd. I said, this house should be sold. And it was the beginning, and then other ones weren't selling. And I'm like, I don't get it. But it was the beginning of the end of that run, but it was too soon to realize it. Yeah. And then the next year, Lehman collapsed and all the other stuff started falling apart. So, you'll see it in our industry typically 6 months before it happens nationally.
Yes.
Recognized nationally.
Yes. And I think you guys see it before we see it here in the South. So I'm always thankful to hear what you're seeing because it does help me project my buyers and sellers in a better position, kind of to understand where it's heading.
Sure. Yeah. Right now, I don't know if there's going to be. I don't see any slowdown in sight. Maybe it'll slow up a little bit, but there's no inventory. We're still suffering from the 2010, financial crisis where builders weren't building, and there's such a demand for residential homes that I don't know. I just,
Absolutely. So what do you tell your sellers? Because one of the things a lot of people say to me is I want to sell my house. I have a lot of equity. I know I could sell it but what happens then? Where do I buy?
So I guess that's each person's different, but if they're going to stay local, I would tell them, listen, let's do this. Let's find a house and we can always update it. And people will pay far more overvalue for an updated house than they will for something that's cosmetically undesirable, or even if it's structurally, even more so. So you
Right.
might have to be 6 months or 9 months of, I got to redo this whole thing. But look, you'll have everything you want. So you'll be in new construction virtually, in a place that you want to be. But you just, if they don't need the money, they can do it.
Right.
Find a place first. But if they need the money, you got to.
Yeah, right. You're right, because everybody's reasoning is different, and right now we are getting a lot of people. It's the first time in my history that we've had a lot of people moving here from Florida, and they're tired of the storms in
From
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Usually they're trying to decide between us and Florida. And recently, I think I've had like 5 closings recently that were moving from Florida up. They still wanted to be on the East Coast, but they were tired of the storms.
The hurricanes.
Yeah, and we still. I mean, we're on the same coast. I mean, we get hurricanes. We just don't seem to get them as frequently or
Severe.
as bad as Florida.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I'm trying to make sure I get everybody's comments over here, but got a lot of people trying to say hey to y'all. And then, so what do you tell your buyers then? What is your advice you're giving your buyers? So you're telling your sellers either maybe we could fix up your house and you could stay here, or we could try to find you something. Again, it depends on what their motivation is. But what about the buyers?
Yeah, with the buyers, with the military buyers, they're buying no matter what, because they don't want to rent. They might have 2 or 3 dogs, and they don't want to stay on post, so they're buying. But it's the people who are currently renting. They're like, well, my mom's aunt said I should wait because interest rates are too high. I'm like, well, the problem is, do you want to spend $50,000 more in a house or $50,000 less?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we want to pay less for a house. I'm like, right, then you can always refinance. But what annoys me is people say, marry the house, buy the house, buy the house, date the rate. Yeah. No, you can't date the rate because the rate may not change.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I'm like, don't buy the home unless you're comfortable with the rate where it is. We can hope it drops.
Yeah.
But because date the rate, if the rate doesn't change, suddenly people are house poor. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, right now the inventory's low, and I know, like, from me, my personal experience, I told y'all that I am engaged and I've been with the same man. I call him my Mark for 10 years. We've been engaged 7 of the 10. We bought a house together. I have a big ring. I just don't want to be married. Another topic.
Yeah.
But anyway, we moved in together, gosh, I guess about 4 years ago. And at that time, I really strongly believed that the real estate market was going to go down. And I had a lot of indicators that I thought that I knew what was happening. And so we moved in together and we started actively looking for a house. We found one house. It was listed at $625,000. It had not hit the market yet. And I had a boat slip. All really important to us.
Yeah.
The location we wanted with the boat slip.
Wait. I hear a butt coming.
Yes. We hesitated. We did not buy that house. A year and a half later, right? Prices had gone up. That same house sold for 1.4.
A year and a half later.
Yep. And that's what I try to tell people. Like, if you wait for it to drop, it may never drop.
Sure.
So just like the prices, the interest rates might not drop, but the values of the home aren't really dropping either. So
my son says this all the time, who's about 25 years old. The best time to do something is 20 years ago. The second best time to do it is today.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, he says it to me all the time. And he's so right, but you're never gonna pick the bottom, you're never gonna pick the top.
That's right.
And to answer your question on my end, as far as buyers, what do you tell them? Each buyer, certainly their situation's a little different. If they have a home to sell first and it's not sold, they're going to do exactly what most people do. They're going to just look and see prices escape them and then say, oh, well, I don't have to move. That's the worst time to move. When you have to move, you're forced to make a decision. And then in hindsight, you'll be like 3 years later, oh my gosh, that was brilliant. At the time, And I use personal, to your point, Jennifer, I use personal experience all the time and explain to them, listen, let me tell you this, what happened to this person. Let me tell you what happened to this person. And I'm the least pushy out there. As much as I want to help you find a house, I'm not attached to
that's right.
a paycheck that you buy a house, so I can
you're trying to do
a paycheck to get by. I said, but I'm trying to help you guys, and I'm telling you, you watch, and sure enough, it's happened enough time. I remember one client crying because they were like, we want to buy the house. They backed out, and then the same, I can't remember the exact numbers. It was $559. They backed out because they got scared before their wedding, blah, blah, blah. Rates were at about 5%. They had just jumped from 3.5 to 5. I'm like, that's fine, but I'm just telling you, you're going to stay, at some point we shouldn't have done it. Sure enough, a couple of months later, we should have bought it, Bernie. The house, I sold it like the next day for $15,000 more than they paid for it. And by the time they finally bought a house, they ended up getting even a lesser house, and we ended up spending like $600,000. And the rate was 7%.
Yeah.
And they're a young couple, and I said, me telling, I told you so gets nothing accomplished.
Right.
That's not my point. I said, but at least I said, I tell my kids this too. Do you ever think I give you advice to point you in the wrong direction?
Yeah.
I've lived so much that, my goal is to say, don't let the same mistakes that happened to me or other people I witnessed.
Learn. Yes, please.
I said, so if you don't want to, that's fine. But I don't want you to ever come back and say, why didn't you encourage me? Because, isn't that your job to point me in the right direction as a fiduciary? So how do you help them? That's exactly personal experience, and tell them, like, listen, I'm trying to help you.
Well, and I
be willing to accept it.
It's always hard too when I've talked to somebody that's been renting and I'm like, what's your rent? And just because I suck at math, we're going to use $2,000 a month, which rent here is a lot more than that. But you're saying, okay, that's $24,000 a year that that is gone. Like it's not in savings, it's not in a house, it's 100% gone. You do 4 years of that, that's $100,000 that,
you put money towards equity. My daughter, the same way, we bought a house, the first one we looked at this year in January, and it was completely updated. It was listed for $440, and they had 5% down against all these other offers. And what do we do? And I said, well, we'll come in over list with an escalation clause, and we got the house. But bottom line, we got the house, and we paid $470, and today it's probably worth $570.
Yeah,
we closed in February.
Wow.
It's not like I had any kind of crystal ball that was going to happen, but to your point, and so we paid over list. What are they going to? Let's wait till rates come down. No.
The prices are going to shoot way up.
Let's wait till prices come down. That's not happening.
Well, that's right. So I tell people, I was like, I could give you my best judgment based on what's happening today.
Sure.
Let's work it out. Let's figure out how much you're spending on rent, how much you're going to spend on this, and let's see if we can find it to make it beneficial for you. But, I can't do it based on, your house is going to be worth this. However, the real estate market is the most reliable market out there. It's a lot better than the stock market right now. So
I'll tell a story. I told you I was before my parents were in the business, and my dad, I could give you the whole background, but I'll give you the 30-second version. He painted this painting here. He painted back in the 60s, like on the doctor's windows, and that was his, like a graphic artist before there was any computers, and he just did all the lettering and stuff like that. Oh. Then and he worked part of the union in Chicago, and my mom's cousin went to this sales training thing, and she came back like a new woman. And my dad's like to my mom, we got to go to this thing. Yeah. There's a story building on this, on how to talk to buyers. And so he goes to that, and then they're like, Bernie, you should. He's like, Carol, he ripped up his union card. He got us out of the south side of Chicago. We lived in and he grew up in a really broken home. And he's like, I just do not want my kids to grow up how I grew up. So long story short, he's selling these sales training classes, and he's going to insurance companies, real estate companies. And one guy at a real estate company says to my dad, his name was also Bernie, you work so hard, you should be a realtor. Carol, we're going to be realtors. So he gets the license, and he's a realtor, and then he's killing it. The first year in 1973 or 74, he makes like $100,000, which back then was
A lot.
unheard of.
Yeah.
And like, how are you doing this? But he worked as hard and used all the sales training stuff, but he door knocked, do all the normal stuff that everybody does to get started. But in real estate, people were just so used to, well, if it doesn't come to me, how am I going to sell a house? So here's my point. He told me the story years ago, and I use it all the time with buyers, and it's so true. So when like they want the house, but we're just not sure. I said, I'm going to tell you the story. My dad told me one time. There's this guy in his house, and there's a flood. The whole neighborhood's starting to flood, and his basement's flooding. He's looking out the living room window, and his buddy comes by in a rowboat and says, "Hey, get in the boat. You're going to drown." And the guy, no, God's going to save me. Well, the water starts filling up. Now it fills up the whole first floor. So he's looking out the bedroom window on the second floor. The guy comes by on a rowboat again. He's like, "Get in, you're going to drown." No, God's going to save me. Now the whole house is underwater, and he's on the roof. Ooh. And the guy in the rowboat's like, "Get in, God's going to, get in, you're going to drown." No, God's going to save me. Well, he drowns. And then he goes to heaven, and he says to God, "Well, why didn't you save me?" And he's like, God says, "Well, I sent the rowboat there 3 times." I mean, maybe you want to wrap it up on that, but my point is, people look for signs, and it's right in front of them as buyers. Like, you've got the house you want, you've looked forever, you've looked online, and you saw the homes you didn't want. Here's all the signs. Don't second guess it.
That's right.
And when you put a reality thing on that, it makes sense to them.
Yeah, that's the hard part about, especially the buyer agent side, is you have to coach your buyers and kind of do a little persuasion. But if you go too hard, they're going to be like, "You're trying to force me to buy this home I don't want. Why are you pushing me so hard?" Because I had these clients, had to be about 7 years ago, and the very first home we looked at was their dream home. Like, this is everything we wanted, the right school district, this is perfect. Like, let's get an offer. He's like, "Well, there's no way the first home I see is the right home. There's so many other homes out there." Like, "But what if you don't find any you like?" Like, "Well, I talked to my parents, and they said I shouldn't buy the first one I see." I'm like, "All right, it's going to be gone. This one's great." So this was before the craziness of everything, like 7, 8 years ago. I looked at them for another year and a half. They did not find a home. They say, "Oh, we got to find another home like that first one we saw." Finally, I washed my hands and handed it off to a teammate. They spent another 3 years. And so it was 7 years. They still kept renting for 7 years.
Wow.
Instead of buying. And the home they looked at I think it was like 240. And 7 years ago, yeah, they could have sold it for, I think it was by about 620 over a 7-year period.
Yeah.
But instead they paid someone's rent. I mean,
wow. That is insane. And that's what I tell people too, because I mean, for one thing, when was the last time that either one of you bought or sold a home recently?
like personal homes?
Yeah, personal.
I just bought one
4 years ago.
last week. We had about 21 rentals, like your dad at one time.
Oh wow.
He's like, "We're selling them all." Now I'm not buying each one back, but I just bought a week ago.
A week ago.
I guess mine was a year. We bought one by Katie Hughes Johnson and Stephanie Caffey's neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Florida.
That's awesome. But yours from 4 years ago. I mean, I was just thinking, like, I just bought a house 2 years ago. My house, we paid $740. It just praised for 1.5. The house before that,
And how long ago? In the year
I
ago?
bought it 2 years ago.
Wow.
But it has a boat slip. And so that is where boats in Wilmington are very hard to get right now. And boat slips are almost impossible. So the house isn't, I would not say my house is a great house, but it has a boat slip, which makes it very unique.
It's a great investment.
Waterfront. I mean, that's.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so, but before that, I mean, in 1994, the house I bought was $86,000. I mean, it's like,
right.
I'm like, shit, I wish I still had that house.
Well, there'll be a day where you think 1.7, it might level off, but in 10 more years, when it's up to 3.9,
well,
you're a genius.
Before Wilmington was really put on the map, my dad, when I was 9 years old, my dad bought 10 acres of land on the Intercoastal Waterway. He paid $200,000 for it. in when I was 19, so 10 years later, he sold it for 750,000. And in his mind, he was like, I have tripled like this was a fabulous investment, the best investment I've ever made. So now I was just talking the story the other day and I looked it up. My old house that I grew up in was torn down, a huge mansion built, and it was just sold for 7.4 million.
Right.
So I think if people wait for the prices to go down, I mean, it may fluctuate a little bit, but it's not going down. I mean, they are historically.
Here's the other thing too, to tell your buyers, which this is so spot on. Your house, even though you're making money in some of these scenarios, your personal residence is consumable. You use it. If you're thinking of it as an investment, you're looking at it the wrong way, because you're going to have, if you have a mortgage, you're going to pay your taxes, your mortgage payment, insurance, fix it up. You know, you can depreciate it. I'm not saying don't, but if you have to pick the house you want, don't be looking for the best deal all the time. If it's the right house, get it. It'll go up in time regardless of the house, but get the house, pick the right house.
To live in and enjoy, and little Johnny to grow up in, or whatever.
You passed the house that you wanted that was maybe not the best deal. You're going to drive by it, for the next decade and say, "Oh, I should have bought that one, but I didn't want to spend the extra $10,000."
Yeah. With my buyers, military, you have to approach it slightly different because they have to sell in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So like, if they're backing a super busy road, I'm like, this home might be perfect for you, but you're going to sell in 2 or 3 years. It might take you 6 months to sell because it backs a really busy road.
Right. Sure.
Or you got to price. Some people are like, well, I can just lower the price. I'm like, if the home's bad, no one's going to buy it regardless of the price. Well, not regardless, but it'll be a lot harder. But like you're saying, Bernie, if someone's going to live in the home as their home for a 5 to 10 year home, buy the home that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's military, you're right. That instance doesn't apply.
Yeah.
If it's other than that they don't have a 2-year turnaround, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the right house.
No, I agree with you. So what about agents? What's a piece of, and then I do have to wrap it up, because as much as I love y'all, it is my daughter's birthday and I'm supposed to be cooking her dinner tonight.
Happy birthday.
But what is an advice that y'all are giving agents? Because there are a lot of new agents out there, and even agents within my team, which are very seasoned agents, are getting a little bit discouraged because the market is shifting a little bit. So what are you telling? Like, what's an advice that you would give a newer agent or an agent that's getting discouraged?
Any agent, I would tell them this: you pick up your phone and you talk to 10 people a day. If anybody listens to this, they've probably been in the business for a while. You could start with your Rolodex, your top producer.
Rolodex, Bernie, come on now.
I don't mean that, but
call through the white pages.
Your database Rolodex. You start with your, just look at people. Go back to the people you've closed on the home in the past 2 years, buyers. Hey, just checking in. How's it going? Blah blah blah. What's going on? You'll be surprised how much. I've been thinking about. Don't even have I want anything from you. What's going on? Let's get together sometime. And I've been meaning to tell you. I know somebody. Oh, by the way, if you know of anybody, if it comes up, yeah, the inventory's down. They want to talk real estate. Yeah, if you know anybody moving, I've got so many buyers out there. They're ready to go. Now you're in the front of their mind again. You do 10 not calls. You talk to 10 people a day. It'll take you an hour. By the time you talk to them, by the time you don't reach somebody, maybe an hour and 20 minutes. For what money we make to work 1 hour designated time to make, that's nothing. And it's so you'll have more business right now than you'll even know what to do with in the next 12 months.
I 100% agree with you. I'm like, if you don't have a closing, you're not talking real estate enough. Pick up the phone. I mean, hell, I just closed like our average price point is $425, close to $600,000 home. Do y'all have Walmart? Does everybody have Walmart? You know
Sure,
what Walmart is? So I was in Walmart and I talked to everybody, right? So the gentleman that was stocking the groceries at Walmart, I strike up a conversation with him. Turns out he's from Ohio. He just sold $1 million home in Ohio, and he's renting here, and he's working at Walmart because he's bored and hates retirement. And just and I got him as a client, and it was
that's a contact. You can count that as one of your for the day. I just have to talk to 10 people about real estate.
That's right. I 100% agree. Nathan, what would you tell him?
I would say if it's like a new agent, not someone who's been on a team for a while, but a new agent, you have to take a chance. Because I get annoyed by those lab coat Facebook pages. But people are like,
those are all Keller Williams agents.
They're pretty much all
Yes,
Keller
they
Williams.
are.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But they're saying basically, oh, I'm glad I kept my other job because this real estate isn't
I
working
saw
out.
that today too, right?
Yeah, and that's why it didn't work out.
Kinsey Lee put something hilarious on.
Yeah, because I was a teacher. I stopped teaching and jumped 10 years ago, jumped into real estate 100% full time.
Yeah.
If I had a fallback plan, would I have worked as hard?
That's
Probably
right.
not.
And Nathan, they say teachers make great. I was a teacher. I was a high school science.
Okay, I was a high school PE teacher.
Yeah, they say teachers make the best agents, but I think
That's the truth because you have lesson plans and you're structured.
Yeah. And I guess the other big piece of advice is for a newer agent, don't be afraid to get on a good team or try to get on a team. You hear people like, oh, why should I give them my split? Like 50% of something is better than 0 of nothing. And people are so short-sighted. They're like, well, I want to give away my commission. Like, well, if it's your own lead, then I think it should be like 75-25, but that's just me. But if it's a team lead, it's something you never would have had.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's exactly right. And with the team and you know, and if I could find I just got a new award, which I don't know what I've done with it, the 5th highest paying commission team in North Carolina. I definitely pay my agents extremely well and I provide a lot for them. But I agree, you know, and sometimes they do get a little greedy and grass is greener on the other side. And at the end of the day, as a team leader, I am providing you all these different services, all these different platforms, leads, and all that. And you don't have, as a team member, you're doing this with 0. You know, in 2018 was the last time we got hit with a big hurricane. We closed down for 4 months. Our courthouse literally flooded and we could not do any business for 4 months. Well, as a team lead, you still owe those bills. You still have to pay for those systems. And when you're a team member, you don't take those chances because you're a team member. But then also as a team leader, I mean, I love to be on a team. I love the fact that I was able to go to my family reunion this weekend and be able to have a great group of people that could handle the clients that surprised me and showed up in town and wanted to see houses or whatever. I was able to roll it over and know that they would be properly taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can go to luxury retreat or any of those.
What am I cooking for?
I said, no, happy birthday to your daughter.
Yes. We have been celebrating a lot lately. If you've seen on Facebook, I went out with her and her friends and we did a river cruise on Friday. And then I went to my family reunion on Saturday. And then tonight's her actual birthday. And she wants a low country boil, which is usually oysters, but we're not in oyster season. So I'm doing clams and shrimp and crab legs with corn and potatoes and sausage. And they're all cooked together.
Wow.
And so that is what she and one of her friends are coming over tonight for dinner.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Well, just don't be too hungover to make your 10 phone calls tomorrow.
Yeah. I actually enjoy making phone calls and people always think that's weird. But also I think you two would probably say the same thing. Like I've been doing it so long that if my phone rings, even if it's my mother's coming in town tomorrow to look at houses, by the way. Literally, no matter who I'm talking to, I am always talking real estate, which might be slightly obnoxious.
It's all right. As long as you take personal time.
Yes. Yeah. But when you start doing it so long, my personal time, that is my passion. Like my passion is what I do and I love what I do. So
sure. If you don't, right. But if you don't have time off, then you never can differentiate and then you don't appreciate, you get burned out.
Yeah, that's true. That's spoken. That's very true. Oh, look at Karen.
Karen and I made a pact that we were going to do it for 2 weeks, and it's been very effective for both of us.
So 10 calls, 10 people.
We said, we talked about. I'd have to look at the calendar, but it was almost 2 weeks ago, and then we said, okay, 10 calls, 10 people a day. And, you have to, no matter what, except Sunday, including Saturday, 10 calls a day and, get yourself out of the, funk of like, oh, it's just slow. And I'm not, I feel like
because you can get in your own head. You can make excuses about anything.
Yeah, right. Right. Somebody's out there saying, I don't see any of that. I'm going to, make it happen for myself, and no pity parties, and it's no one.
No, I agree, because at the end of the day, people buy and sell houses all day long. People
Right.
buy. We just need to find those people that need our help, right? So,
Right. Maybe today we have to work a little harder than we did, a couple years ago to make the same amount of money or even less. So what? You know what? It's not like,
Still not bad.
Yeah, we're not salaried. You're not gonna have the same income every year. Fortune 500 companies fluctuate in their,
That's right.
what they earn each quarter. So what? You make a little less one year, you'll make more next year. In 10 years it'll balance out. But just keep the fundamentals going.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Happy
And Nathan,
birthday.
yours the same information? Is that what you're saying? The same thing? Just make your calls?
Yeah, except I detest phone calls. I'm not a people person, so I'm like I don't like talking to people. So I still do probably 10 to 15, but a lot of those are past clients and new leads I follow up with. But I probably 10 to 15 a day, except for Saturday, Sunday I don't, but I make them all up during the week.
Yeah.
But,
I read this years ago, and I probably work out 3 or 4 times, either run or lift, but I eat a lot more than I
do flips.
working out. But yeah, I hate every second of a workout. Every freaking second. I was going to use a better word, but I like the result afterwards. Nobody likes doing stuff like that, but you like the end result.
That's right.
Sometimes you got to push yourself, but it is what it is.
Well, you're exactly right. Sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone to do things you don't like. But at the end of the day, and I would be lying if I said, I just can't wait to get in there and make phone calls. But once you start doing it, it is an adrenaline rush when you get that person on the phone that says, Jennifer, thank you so much for calling. I've been thinking about you. I need to buy or sell or whatever. You're like,
I just remember
to have some structure. As teachers, you guys can appreciate structure, but most realtors are not structure personalities. So you need to have some, structure. Otherwise, you're going to be a slave to whatever happens, and saying, okay, I'll make my 10. Whatever else happens, I'll at least talk to 10 people today.
That's exactly right. What were you going to say, Nathan?
I don't remember.
Well, I agree. And I used to do 10 business cards a day. And I would be even at the gas station pumping gas going, I've got one more business card I need to give out. And I'm literally looking around saying, who can I strike up a conversation with to give them this damn business card?
Sometimes I'm at the end of my day and I'm like, I just call a friend. I'm like, hey, do you know anybody in your neighborhood that wants to buy or sell a house? Because you're my last call. And
that's right.
So what?
No, it's smart. And there's all these programs that say, oh, you never have to make another call. I'm sorry. You do have to make phone calls. You have to pick up your phone. How are you? How's somebody going to use you to buy or sell a house when they've never talked to you?
Sometimes you're making enough of these calls. The 10 calls are sometimes they're follow-up calls.
Yeah.
You're talking to somebody, but hey, I'm talking to somebody because we're setting an appointment to list the house.
I was even with like Zillow or Realtor.com leads, you're still making the phone calls. Nothing's going to be handed to you because they're going to send out more questions 2 minutes later.
That's exactly right.
So,
easy.
No, I agree. Well, awesome. So in just overall, you're saying it is still a good time to buy. Inventory is still low, is what I heard both of you say.
Yeah.
Bernie, it sounds like your prices have gone up 10%. Nathan,
I'd say in the past, maybe I'd have to look at the exact number, but it's probably not too far off from May of last year to June of today.
So you're still seeing a good market. And Nathan, it sounds like yours has leveled off. Yours has gone down a little bit, but I suck at math, but at maybe 1% or something. It's still
2% down from last year. But every offer I put in under 500, except the one today, thankfully, has been multiple offers. So,
so what's your average price point?
Over.
What's your average price point, Nathan?
If
you would just give me a round, you don't have to be exact.
It's a 520, 523, and the median's 460.
Yeah. So if you get in lower than that, then you got that's the same thing as us. If we're getting in those good price points, ours usually under 400, we'll get multiple offers.
Yeah. I want to qualify. My business is not up 10%. The prices are up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's hard to sell things when they're not listed.
Right.
Well, right. Home sales are diminishing because the prices are up because of inventory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, thank you. This has been awesome, and I appreciate you too, and appreciate your time. Are either one of you going to luxury?
Yes, I will be. I'm going to Florida for a week, coming home for a day, then going to luxury.
Okay,
So
when are you going to Florida?
Thursday, we have a 5 a.m. flight Friday morning. So we're
Wow.
staying Denver Thursday night. So
This coming up week or next week?
this week. So
This
we're
week.
there for like 8 days. Then we're flying
Wow.
home. Then 2 days later, or 36 hours later, we're going to New Orleans. Or I'm
So
going
what part of Florida?
just south of Jacksonville. So between Daytona and St. Augustine.
So I'll be in St. Pete this weekend. We're leaving Friday and coming back Monday, and then going to luxury. So I look forward to seeing you in luxury.
Yeah, definitely.
I look forward to it. I'll buy you a first round of drinks.
Sounds good.
And
Thank
Bernie,
you.
are you going?
No, I'll be at my neighborhood pool.
Okay, be at your neighborhood pool, but if
We're
both
gonna do a backflip this time, not a front flip, but go backwards.
I can only do a front flip.
and I saw that. I was really friggin' impressed, by the way, Bernie.
Oh, I'm so impressive.
I think that's very impressive. I mean, we're talking about a Rolodex and doing front soft
Right.
flip.
Oh God. Exactly.
That's a big difference. But did both of you get the invitations to Elite?
Yeah, I signed up, got my room already.
Yeah, I'm showing up Saturday the 30th, and then I know it starts Monday, but just to hang out and enjoy for a couple days before.
Yeah, it does it. It's the 2nd through the 4th. I think I'm coming in the 1st through the 5th.
Yeah, I'm the
5th. I did
first through the 5th.
Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah.
I did the 1st through. Well, yay! So Nathan, I get to see you twice coming up.
I'm lucky to be able to see you that much.
Yeah, I know, right? That's a lot of drinks. I better sell some houses so I can buy you some drinks. And Bernie, we'll see you in October.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
Awesome.
Happy birthday to your daughter. Take care.
Thank you so much.
All right, see you, everybody.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.